Welcome to Audio Branding, the hidden gem of marketing. Sound plays a more important role in human behavior and our decision-making than you may realize. In this podcast, I'll help you understand the art and science of sound so you can better influence others in business and your life. I'm your host, Jodi Krangle. Let's delve a little deeper. I wanted to ask you also about the genesis of, Vocation and evocation and all of that as well, because I know that you and Karen work really hard on this, and it's kind of a unique position to take that it is specifically about business of voiceover.
Yeah.
So how did that come about?
Well, Karen had her group in New York, the Voice Actors of New York City, and I had my own podcast, VO School, where we'd talk about, starting a voiceover career, and we sort of got together and we were like, let's put on an event in New York, and there aren't many things happening in New York like at the time, and we put on an event. It was just a panel at Opera America on 6th Avenue. We had a bunch of cool people, and it was really fun. Like, everyone had a really good time, and we were like, oh, this is fun, putting on events. And so we were like, it would be really great to have a New York thing. Maybe it's not a conference, maybe it's something, because there was nothing other than her small little classes that she would put on every now and again. It was so weird that there was no New York event other than like for audiobook people.
That is strange.
Yeah. And so we found out why. Because it's really difficult. But we decided to put on a little small conference at a venue on the Upper West Side. And we didn't want to just do another conference just for the sake of it, because there's a whole bunch of conferences in voiceover. So we thought, well, I think the conference that would have the biggest takeaway value is talking about business, because that's what we spend the majority of our days doing. Not necessarily behind the mic speaking, unless you're an audiobook narrator. Most of our time is spent doing all the admin stuff and getting the work and, staying in touch with clients and all that stuff, marketing and branding and things. So usually those classes are the ones that are avoided at most conferences. So we didn't give people the option. We were like, you come to our conference and then you can get all that out of the way, and then you can go to VO Atlanta and have fun doing promo and commercials and video games. So yeah, with those for a few little parameters, we started Vocation, and we did our first one in 2019 in September of that year, and it was a complete blast. Like, because the subject matter was a little on the dry side, we really tried to inject as much fun and sort of entertainment factor as much as possible. And it was in the city. We did it on the Upper West Side. We didn't want to do it at an airport 3 miles out of the city, in a hotel. We wanted it to feel very New York-y. So we held it at Symphony Space on the Upper West Side, and it was just a complete blast. We really had a great time. And then COVID. So we were all booked in for the following September, and, of course, everything switched. And
you guys took that into evocation, into a virtual conference, and I was astounded at how well it worked. I mean, I attended that one, I believe. I wasn't able to be there in person, but way more people could attend virtually. And of course, 2020, when we were all like stuck inside and worried and not seeing each other in person, it was kind of a hit.
It was. I mean, we were blown away by it. We had a plan for how we were going to execute it, but and we really didn't want to overcomplicate things. We wanted to keep, and we've done that ever since. We wanted to keep it on Zoom. Everyone's familiar with Zoom. It has the capacity. A lot of the sort of socializing, we set up a separate Zoom room so people could go in there and like hang out, and we called it like the Zoom cafe, so people could just go in and chat while sessions were happening. We had a specific Facebook group that was just for attendees. So there was like an ability to share things with people, share handouts from the classes, or connect with people and form those bonds. People were posting demos in there to get reviewed, and someone had a great spreadsheet that they're using and they shared it. And so there was a very sociable side to it as well. And, we were lucky really because the content of our conference really translates quite well to the sort of virtual world. A lot of the presentations you would, rather than it being on a big screen, it was just shared on Zoom, and it was just a screen share. So
that makes a ton of sense. Yeah.
It was relatively easy for us to transition given the content. And we had a ravenous community that just wanted something social. And we were like,
this is so true.
We weren't sure, like, is this going to work? Is this going to feel social? And as you said, it felt like I was tired by the end of the weekend. Like I'd gone to something, It
was great. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. And I really enjoyed even the social rooms.
Yeah.
Like not just the actual presentations, which were fantastic. And you had a lot of really great guests. But the social rooms, I think that was kind of what kept me sane while I was locked in the house.
Yeah. And we've had like in-jokes from that event that have like carried through even till today. And
which room was it?
Room
3? Is that room 5? Room 5. Yes. Okay.
I'm not going to go into.
I missed out on that the first
year.
Right.
I'm not going to go into all. Let's just repeat all day. We accidentally started a cult.
Oh boy. Yeah. Well, yeah, these things happen when a bunch of wacky people get together.
Right, exactly. And we've just been doing that ever since. And we're doing it again this September. And we're just going to keep doing it while people want to do it, and it's very accessible. For a couple of $100 all in, you have access to everything, all the classes, everything's, you get replays of everything. And obviously the social side of it, conferences are wonderful. I love, going to these events, but it's expensive. You got to fly there. You got to pay for the hotel. You got to pay for the ticket. You got to pay for all the food and drink,
definitely.
It's not a cheap thing. So this way you're at home. The other benefit is that you can put into practice a lot of your learning like right there and then. You'll buy your computer. You can edit your website while you're taking the website class if you want to do that. So we've got that coming up in September.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. So question for you, there have been a lot of really interesting changes over the last several years. I mean, one of them being the pandemic specifically. Yeah. So how do you think that changed? I kind of don't want to just specifically talk about voiceover here. And I know that you're seeing a whole lot of aspects of sound in general, podcasting and audio engineering of all sorts and music and all of this. How do you think it changed sound?
I think everyone is just throwing everything at the wall right now. And just seeing what's going to stick. And I don't know what is going to stick, in terms of that permanent change. I know that I use AI a lot when it comes to restoration. It's really good at, a lot of the time with like, if I've got really bad audio, I can use certain tools to take bad stuff out, but I don't have much real ability to augment things in a positive way. Whereas,
so are you saying then that the pandemic accelerated the use of AI? Is that what you're...
Oh, well, I don't know. I'm just talking about the benefit of AI in general.
Sure.
I mean, But I've found, in a way, everything's so much more remote now that it's sort of necessitated some of this AI fixing. So in a way, yes, you're correct. I think you're right. But that has also meant people have invested in buying themselves a USB mic or, made a bit of a space in their home for Zoom calls that is quiet that they wouldn't otherwise have been able to do or put any thought into. So,
or even voiceover in general. A lot of people went into their house as opposed to going into studios while the pandemic was going on, obviously. I mean, you and I have both had studios home studios for a long
Yeah.
time. I'm not even going there.
Right.
but for a lot of people, for instance, people in New York or LA who were not used to having studios or needing studios, suddenly they needed something or they weren't going to work.
Yeah, I mean, specifically as it relates to voiceover, that was the whole industry has shifted hugely, as you know.
Yeah.
And it has democratized the industry a huge amount, which is, I appreciate.
That's true.
You know,
definitely.
some people made a lot of claims about their studio when COVID first happened, and it wasn't true. And so they would go onto live sessions and there was dogs barking and, the neighbor revving their engine and people mowing their lawn. And it wasn't usable. And so a lot of people were scared of hiring anyone from home then a lot of producers were like, oh no, it has to be in the studio. Now I think we've reached an equilibrium where everyone's kind of figured it, or, the pros have figured it out. Anyone that's got an interest in earning money in this industry have had to create a work from home solution.
I think also that people have relaxed a little bit as well.
Yeah.
I mean, the audio engineers definitely are looking for, good sound and they want to make sure that they get what they need. But, if someone's dog barks, you stop and you restart. Or if the garbage truck happens to go by, people aren't as bothered, I think, by it. It's not that that's your entire setup and it ruins the entire thing. It's just that things happen in a session that's live.
I mean, I've been in multi-million-dollar studios in New York and we had to stop for a fire truck,
Oh, God, yeah. I've been in downtown studios in Toronto where you can feel the subway going beneath you. Like, come on.
I mean, maybe not. That's not the ideal location for it.
No, I mean, really, or the trolley car going outside. I mean, like these, like, I don't know how that's better.
I mean, unless you are living in a bunker, with 3-meter concrete walls, and there's going to be, like you say, you can stop for anything. Also, I have recovered some dreadful audio and made it sound workable. And particularly if you put it in a mix with, if it's a commercial and there's music and sound effects, no one would ever know, So I'm not saying you don't prioritize sound. Obviously, coming from my perspective, sound's everything.
Of course
but,
you do.
I mean, it's astonishing what you can do these days with AI and with some of the sound restoration software. But particularly when it comes to AI, like I was saying, that what I think is really good about it is it can be additive. Like it can actually create words and sound and noise where you wouldn't necessarily be able to do that in a particularly easy way in the past. And really the dream situation, which I employ a lot, is a combination of AI and experience and tools, human manipulatable tools. And, you can work wonders if you're able to use all those things. So in terms of its impact.
Do you have an example of that? Like how you've done that recently?
Yeah. I mean, I actually put it out as an example on LinkedIn yesterday that we interviewed a guy. He's a real hotshot casting director. And he was just recording in a bare office with his laptop, and he didn't have a phone. I tried, like maybe we can do this. Maybe you can sit a bit close to your laptop. And then he just, in the middle of the interview, just like sat back in his chair. And I'm like, but,
ouch.
So, lovely guy, but not a sound engineer. And so I'm like, this is going to be a headache, So I ran it through a whole bunch of processes. I ran it through Adobe Podcast, whatever that's called, the Adobe AI thing, which gave it a little body, but it introduced a bunch of artifacts that I had to go and fix with RX. And then it made it too muffly. So then I had to really get in surgically EQ out some of that low end and boost it up. And it wasn't straightforward, but the difference between the two, and I did it before and after, it could show you, was night and day, and yeah.
I'd love to play a sample.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. So listen to it now.
I think that's the tough thing for casting directors who aren't in the room with these people. And I mean, Margot is like probably one of my favorite auditions of all time, and it was right before she broke out, and it was for American Horror Story Asylum. I think that's the tough thing for casting directors who aren't in the room with these people. And I mean, Margot is like probably one of my favorite auditions of all time. And it was right before she broke out, and it was for American Horror Story Asylum.
So a lot of AI stuff can augment what we're doing with podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not of the opinion that the sky is falling. I think we need to be careful.
Yeah.
Definitely look at the contracts that you're signing, because there's a lot of stuff going on where people are trying to catch you.
Oh, I mean, when there's any kind of revolution, I think everyone pushes the envelope and just tries to I don't know.
Get you to sign away everything,
exactly.
For now and eternity.
Yeah, I mean, look at the music industry in like the 50s and 60s and the contracts that musicians were signing back then, and it was just appalling how they would try and take advantage of people. And, I mean, there's always going to be these people that are going to try and take advantage of a situation. And I mean, actors have to be very, very careful, and just really anyone whose IP is out there and, they're essentially giving it up. I feel probably more secure as a voice actor and a podcast producer than I would if I was a photographer or a graphic designer. I feel so bad for those guys. I mean, their work is directly just being stolen and resynthesized so it's not overt. And, literally a couple of prompts on a keypad, you can get a brand new original piece of art. That, I will say, does not have the ability to copyright. So it's not that helpful. But
true, yeah. And people can put their headshots through AI and suddenly get a completely different photograph or what. It's just it's kind of I also know several writers who are having existential crises right now because, of course, people are thinking AI writing is good enough. And I feel so bad for them. I am still actually employing a human writer for the show notes of this show.
Yeah.
And very deliberately so, because he does a great job, first of all. He's a great writer. And I cannot see an AI being able to understand as deeply what the audio is actually saying.
Yeah. I employ a graphic designer to do all the artwork for the podcast people that I produce because I want them to be able to speak to someone and collaborate with someone and get the result that they want, rather than type a prompt in, press go, cross your fingers, and then try and refine it with speech when it doesn't really that collaboration is not possible with AI, at least right now. You can't really, maybe they'll create interfaces where that's more possible, but right now, I mean, that's just, it's just easier to use a person. It may not be quite as quick, but in terms of getting the result that you want. And I feel like with writing, with artwork, with voice, I think right now it's all very impressive because it's so brand new. Yes, there is going to be a market for all of the above where the content doesn't really matter, and it never really mattered anyway. Like in the past, it would have been stock photography or clip art, and now it's now it's AI.
Yeah. Okay.
I use this example like when microwave dinners came in and restaurants were like quaking in their boots. It probably had an impact. Like it probably did. Like it probably would have affected fast food more than like high end restaurants. But
now it's like meal delivery services.
I just watched Last Week Tonight. Actually.
Hello Fresh. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Okay, they're not a sponsor.
Yeah. So I mean, there's always disruptors, but I feel like quality in any of these industries, there's always going to be a demand for quality, and particularly people who have a distinctive style and something unique to offer, because by its very nature, AI is derivative. whatever it
it's
is.
Very homogenized.
Yeah, it is quite literally an amalgamation of in equal parts a whole bunch of different people. So it is, it's never going to have something completely. I don't know, all the weird quirks that humans have and all the psychoses that humans have, and that all feeds into the weird art that we make, which is what's great about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what makes humans human, right? Like, I actually do have an earlier episode, like a solo episode about machine learning and music.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really fascinating to listen to what the machine came up with by itself.
Yeah.
From derivative works. For music.
Well, there's a new app that came out a few months ago, right?
Sonos,
yeah,
Soros,
something like that.
Soros. Yeah, something.
It's
like
very,
that,
very hit and miss. Sometimes it makes something possible, and then sometimes it's just really like, I get why it's doing what it's doing, but what it's fundamentally lacking is, oh no, it actually has to like sound appealing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, understanding communication in the same way that humans communicate.
Yeah.
Understanding the reason why you would write a note that way or perform a note in that way or speak a word in that way.
Yeah.
The whys aren't really there yet.
Definitely.
And it might be in the future. I don't know. But from what I'm seeing of the writing that is being put out there, it's very, like you said, derivative, and it's pretty recognizable as AI, actually.
Oh, the longer we get into this, the more my brain is starting to get attuned, and I'm sure this is the same for everyone, to AI writing, voice, visual, video. Video's so new now, but I mean, I feel like that's going to have a real look. And of course, the more AI video and pictures and text that goes out into the world, the more it's feeding into itself. So, who knows where it's going to go? It might even get worse, because it's using itself as source material, so. Yeah. So
true. Yeah. So AI wise, what do you use in your business now to help you that like you did talk about updating or helping with bad audio and fixing that a little bit. Are there other aspects of your various different things that you're doing where AI actually is helpful?
I find I use ChatGPT to just give me answers to questions where I just need a general consensus on something. It's quite good at giving a sort of a very generalized, homogenized overview of an answer to a question. It's not necessarily saying that it's right particularly, but when I ask it questions that I know the answer to, it generally is giving me a sort of ballpark correct answer. I wouldn't necessarily treat it as gospel, but I find that GPT is good for that. Sometimes if, really, really technical things, like if I have really, really specific, like if I'm wanting to figure out a shortcut on Pro Tools or something, it'll has probably synthesized the Pro Tools manual, right? So it's easier just to type a question in to ChatGPT and have it spit out an answer rather than me going and searching and typing into Google, and then there's some Reddit, thing that I've got to scroll a million things. It's just quicker. It's not necessarily doing something I couldn't do myself or couldn't figure out, but half the time it's just quicker to do that.
Takes less time.
Don't really create much original of anything with AI yet.
I think the one thing that I've done with it is if I have something that needs something that's like 300 words and I need to distill it into 200 characters, I will use ChatGPT and just say, look, take this and make it 200 characters.
Yeah, I do that with
see what I get.
Podcast descriptions as well, 100%. Yeah. Sometimes I'll have a client send me something, and on Acast, at least, the podcast description limit is 4,000 characters, I think. So they'll send me something 5.5, and I just say, I'll just make this 3,900 words or whatever, characters, whatever it is. And it's, sometimes it does something wacky, but generally you're in the ballpark and you can kind of it's quicker just read through it and then fix any little weird things. But yeah, I mean, some of the like brainless tasks that is just kind of mind numbing. Another thing that I do sometimes with podcasting is on Premiere Pro, music it has a sort of AI thing now where if you've got a video that's 4 minutes 13 and the music's 2 minutes 49, you can just basically turn this feature on and you can like stretch out the music, or you define how long you want the piece of music and it automatically figures out where to cut it. And
that's
if
cool.
it's just background music and you're not really going in and really obsessed about the music itself, that's a real time saver because it cuts it on the beat, it cuts it at the beginning of sections, maybe it'll loop a verse again and things like that. And that's I use that every now and again for just real low level background noise music that is just there to sort of fill in the gaps. So I use that sometimes.
That makes a lot of sense. Sure. Yeah. So what are you working on now that you can actually talk about?
Well, today I'm producing an episode of Backstage's podcast with Dakota Fanning that we've got coming out on Thursday. We interviewed her a couple of weeks ago. Okay. She's lovely. She's in the new Ripley show on Netflix, which is I saw the first episode of the other day and thought it was great. A lot of production work with RPS and just sort of getting my name out with that and doing interviews and doing media stuff and keeping up the old voiceover career.
Gotta do
doing
that.
the auditions, doing the sessions.
Of course.
And trying to figure out time to, spend with my wife and have dinner and sleep every now and again.
Yeah, the regular things of being a human.
Yeah, exactly. Try to be a little bit social every now and again. Yeah.
Just a little, yeah. So how can people get in touch if they want to do that?
You can find me on social media, Jamie Muffett, JamieMuffett. And my company is rps-audio.com for podcast production. And my voiceover page is jamiemuffettvo.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed talking with you, Jamie,
same.
and I learned a lot about your background that I'm glad I did.
Yeah, we've known each other for a long time as well, haven't we?
Yeah. We've never really gotten into it until today.
Exactly.
So, yes, thank you.
We'll have to return
it.
the favor. I need to dig into your history a little bit.
I'm totally open.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Podcast part 2.
Yes. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jodi.
Well, that's the end of this episode. Thanks for listening. And if you like what you heard, why not tell a friend about this podcast? It's available in all the usual locations. Until next time.